Hi everyone, so this is a call, and what I'm going to talk about in this video, this practice, it might work for you, it might not. The reality is that this was, for me anyway, during my sort of sexual transmutation practices, this was an area where things felt a little vague. So in the past couple weeks, this vagueness has kind of clarified, and now I have a new level of clarity, but most of all, there's a sense that's come over me of being unshakable, right? And what I mean by unshakable is it doesn't matter what the emotional content is that rises up through my awareness, I'm completely centered with it and objective with it. Another way you could say is neutral, or I'm in the meditative mind. But what I've actually done is I've accessed an aspect of our body's center channel. So the way I kind of want you to think about this is all the way, the body center channel, people can debate as to what it is, where it is, all this kind of stuff. I will tell you that there's certain points in the body which help center us. For instance, the tongue. If I create a slight suction on the tongue, it pulls my awareness within. If I create a slight contraction around the perineum, it pulls my awareness within, right? So let's say I contract the muscles around my rib cage, that helps pull my awareness within. But specifically, the area that felt particularly vague for me was actually at the center of the head. I could perceive some light, but it wasn't crisp. I would have visions, but they're a little fuzzy. And bizarrely, in the last couple of weeks, all these things have kind of become much more clear and much more crisp. So before I continue talking, I would like you to kind of check out what I have linked down below the video. So I have my sexual energy coaching program, which I call the Sovereign Tantric. There's a video-based version as well as an in-person based version if you're in Chicago or if you want to meet over Zoom, things like that. Anyway, you can click on the link for that if you're interested. And also down below the video is the formula. Now, the formula is what I created in order to, it's guidelines that I utilized in order to increase the magnitude of orgasm and also to help us cultivate tantric experiences with our partners. So again, but the formula is totally free. So you can go ahead and check it out, click on it, and download it. Now, going back into the topic, so this practice, what it's going to involve is it's a couple things. So I'm going to try to keep this relatively simple. And I also want to say that this is overall just part of the overall, I guess we can say microcosmic orbit. So those of you who are familiar with Daoist practices, etc., you're going to notice this idea of moving up the spine and down the front of the body, right? There's a circular pattern you flow through. And I've done these practices for years. Kundalini Yoga, we have a different way of doing it. And all these different systems have, in essence, the same sort of practices, but different names for the practices. So, but again, as I mentioned earlier, the space for me that was dull and vague was the center of the head. I'm a kind of etheric in nature, so I've always been kind of swimming out here in the ethers. So this area was a huge obstacle for me in order to kind of pull my awareness within. I was always going off on mental tangents, all this kind of thing. So anytime you're in sort of mind space or mental space, keep in mind that the mind is not embodied. Okay, so at all times, the mind is out here, right? So part of the awakening process requires, to some extent, the reconnection to the body and the purification of one's emotions. So I've been working on emotional purification for quite some time. And the reality is that it requires quite some time because most of us have spent our whole life acquiring emotional patterns which were conditioned in us from the moment of birth, right? You could say postnatal versus prenatal, right? In Taoism, they talk about postnatal, prenatal. So the idea in Taoism, and you could say this in sort of esoteric Christian traditions as well, it's to become innocent and childlike again, right? So it's about turning back the clock, not in the sense of your knowledge and your understanding of the world or, your maturity level or any of those things, but in terms of our emotional patterning, the armoring, the traumas, the things that we end up holding on to. And the only way really to purify those things, Yogi Bhajan, one of my spiritual teachers, said that meditation is about taking out the karmic trash, right? So it's about releasing the karmic patterns before we have to manifest them in our physical reality. So that's why one of the reasons meditation is incredibly important. So now down below, sidetrack. So what I want to kind of go into here again is this idea that we have a lot to do, and there's a lot of things that kind of keep us from being embodied. And for me, like I said, it was the center part of the head. It was the center part of the head because, again, I was going off on mental space all the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a sound. And after we make this sound, well, we're going to do some breath of fire first. After breath of fire, we're going to do some inner smile. And I know a lot of you guys are going to kind of mock me at this moment, perhaps, is this idea that inner smiling does something. It does do something, actually quite powerful, which is when I smile inward, I shine light on something. The best way to think about this is if somebody's walking down the street and they smile at you, there is this sense of like, oh, gosh, somebody just shined their light on me. So that's basically what we're going to be doing with the inner smile. But in this context, what we're doing is we're doing it to illuminate or to emphasize our sensitivity, our sense of feeling, our experience of this inner space inside of our head and our eyes, okay? So we're shifting from the physical eyes to our inner eye. So we're going to connect to the eyes, though, through this inner smile. So it's breath of fire, inner smile, and then we're going to make the O-N-G sound, not O-M, O-N-G. Om is, you can do it, Om. It feels a bit more out, right? It's a bit more expansive. Resonates kind of in here. Om. The NG resonates up inside the head, which is the point we're trying to locate. So we're trying to locate this space at the center of the head. Now, more specifically, let's go into it. Along the roof of your mouth, you have a hard palate and a soft palate, right? So towards the front teeth, along the roof of the mouth is the hard palate. Towards the back is the soft palate. And there's kind of a dividing line between those two things. So you can rub your tongue along the roof of the mouth, find that dividing line. And if you move your awareness directly up from that dividing line into the center part of the head, this is an area called the sella turcica. It's a space. It's a space where the pituitary gland sits. Then there's the hypothalamus, and then there's the pineal gland. So you've got the pituitary and the pineal separated by the hypothalamus. A lot of interesting stuff happens in that part of the brain. I'm going to be doing some future videos on how to awaken this area, how to balance this area, etc. But for now, we're just going to locate it. So the ONG is going to help us locate that space. Once our awareness is at the center part of the head, I'm going to have you create pathways. The best way I like you to think about this is that we are shoveling the snow, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, at least those of us who live in northern climates where we actually get snow, you know, the snow covers the sidewalk. You can't see the sidewalk, so you got to go out and shovel it, right? Pretty obvious. So this is, in some ways, the way we're kind of clearing these pathways inside the head is through this process of inhaling and exhaling, right? So we're moving our awareness, and we're inhaling and exhaling to emphasize the movement of our awareness. So this helps create these pathways. Part of the practical benefit of opening these pathways is that we then have, like I said, access to this internal light. We start to perceive this internal light more clearly, but also we help open up our sinuses. Those of you who tend to be very nasally by nature, who speak from here, you're going to find this beneficial to be able to relax the sinuses. And also if you tend to have sinus congestion problems, for me, throughout my 20s, I was chronically in a state of having sinus infections. So the sinus infections have gone away. They've gone away for probably a bunch of different reasons, but one of the reasons was my ability to learn to relax up inside the sinuses. Finally, for those of you who are interested in sexual transmutation, the need to pull the energy up is kind of a regular theme for, it doesn't matter what instructor you listen to about transmutation, doesn't matter what his tradition is, they almost always say the same thing. It's about pulling the energy up, right? But pulling it up into what? for me, I did this for years, and oftentimes all I got was neck tension, right? So I got tension throughout here. I kept pulling up, pulling up, pulling up, pulling up, but I hadn't done the necessary emotional clearing to be able to open this. And also, not until recently, in the last couple weeks, have I really been able to open up this space inside my head, which again has created this very powerful deep centering effect. So I think I've explained that quite a bit. Hopefully you understand. So we're going to go ahead and begin the navigation inside our head. I'm going to point out just a few different points that I'm going to have you be breathing in between, but just know that you can move your awareness inside your head to several different points. The fontanelle, the crown, the points in the side of the head, all from this area at the center of the head, which is approximately where the pineal gland is. You can move it forward, you can move it backward, you can move anywhere you want. Wherever you feel a tension, I suggest you inhale into that space inside the head and relax it. Exhale back to the center of the head, right? All right, so I belabored that. Let's go ahead and we will get into the practice. So we're just going to do about a minute of breath of fire. Just a reminder what breath of fire is. Breath of fire is an oxygen saturation technique. This also activates the nitric oxide system in your body to a strong degree, which does what? Helps your body relax. Nitric oxide is a vasodilator, so hence relaxation. So we're going to go ahead and do some breath of fire first. So go ahead and find a nice seated upright position or posture. So you want to press that perineum down, allowing the spine to stack. Gently tucking the chin, once again pulling the spine upright. Let's take a deep breath in. Exhale there out. Good. So the point we're going to be doing breath of fire from is about 2 fingers below your navel. So think about your belt line. When you pull in the belt line, what you're going to do is air is going to go out. When you relax your belt line, air will naturally come in. So it's pulling in and relaxing, pulling in and relaxing. Don't worry about inhale and exhale. Just pull in and then relax. Pull in and relax. If you find that you're reversing this, if you're pulling in and inhaling, that means you're trying to inhale, right? You're in your head too much. So what you need to do again is to pull in the belt line and air will go out. It's a natural way to do things, right? So think about the Heimlich maneuver. You press in on the belly in order to get someone who's choking on something to spit it out, because it creates a strong driving force. So I don't want to go too much details anymore. So let's just get into the technique. So deep breath in. Exhale there out. Inhale half breath. We'll begin breath of fire in about a minute. It up. Once again, belt line goes in, air goes out. Let's go ahead and take a full breath in and retain the breath. You want to inhale, relaxing the pelvic floor, relax your ribs, the chest, the neck, the throat. As much air as you can bring in, retain that air. Now I would like you to smile inwardly at your right eye. You want to relax any tension you feel around the right eye. And when I'm saying retain the breath, that means keep the tension as if you're inhaling. So don't let the diaphragm go, but continue smiling at that right eye. When you need to exhale, go ahead and exhale, but continue smiling at that right eye. And again, it helps to literally smile while in inner smiling, because there's pressure points up underneath the cheekbones that will increase your internal perception of light. Let's inhale, retain the breath, smiling at the left eye. Inhale, retain the breath, smiling at both eyes. Once again, relaxing any tension you feel around the eyes. Good. So now, with your eyes, I would like you to kind of create a triangle, right? So you've got the two eyes at the base of the triangle, and we're moving them inward and backward towards the center of the head. So move them back, your awareness back inside the center of the head. Relax the roof of the mouth. And so once your awareness, is at the center part of the head, we're going to make a sound, and this is once again going to help you locate that space. O-N-G. Let's do this 3 times. On inhale, we begin. O. Again, vibrating up inside the head. So 2 more. Deep breath in. O. Once again, notice that the tongue hits the roof of the mouth when you're doing the NG. One more time. Keeping the awareness up inside the head. All right, good. So hopefully now you have a good sense of the space inside the head. And what we're going to do now is we're going to start to shovel the sidewalk. That middle point of the center of the head is going to be the start point. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be inhaling to various other points. So we're going to start with the back of the head here, right? So not specifically that bump on your skull, but the point in which the spinal cord goes up underneath the skull. This is the jade pillow. This is the tomb of Christ. All sorts of interesting names for this area. So once again, awareness at the center of the skull. Inhale to the back of your head. Go ahead and exhale at the back of the head. It helps you consolidate your focus when you exhale, concentrating. And when you exhale, feel and sense. You might feel tension, you might feel looseness. Once again, then you can inhale back towards that center point above the roof of the mouth at the center of the head. And once again, exhale into that space. So go ahead and do that a couple more times. Once again, inhale to the back of the head. Exhale once you're at the back of the head. And then inhale back slightly upward and forward, moving back to the center of the head. And then exhale at the center of the head. Relaxing any tension you perceive along the way. Good. So wherever you're at now, go ahead and inhale back towards the center of the head. Exhale at the center of the head. And now we're going to move to the point at the space between the brow. Let's go ahead and inhale to the point at the space between the brow from the center of the head. Exhale at the space between the brow. Once again, feeling and sensing that space. You may feel some tingles. That's nitric oxide releasing. You might feel tension. You might feel a heaviness. But once again, when you need to go back to the center of the head, inhale back to the center of the head. Exhale at the center of the head. Once again, concentrating your focus. And just go ahead and do that a couple more times. Inhale, brow. Exhale, brow. Inhale, center of the head. Exhale, center of the head. Good. So let's go ahead and once again inhale back to the center of the head, exhale at the center of the head. Now we're going to move our awareness to the crown, right? So this is kind of the crown. So right at the back of the head, helps to be bald because I can kind of point these things out well. So at the crown here, we're going to get, once again, we go to the center of the head, inhale to the crown, exhale crown, Inhale back to the center of the head, exhale at the center of the head. Once again, clearing and shoveling that pathway. Let's go ahead and do 2 or 3 times. Relaxing any tension you feel along the way. Good. So now we're going to do, so we have the fontanelle. So we're going to inhale to the fontanelle, which is more forward on the skull. Exhale at the fontanelle. Then inhale back to the center of the head. Exhale at the center of the head. Same thing. Scrub that pathway. Very good. So now what we're going to do is we got lateral points as well. Now these are incredibly important. We hold a lot of tension laterally in our body, many of us. So learning to relax here will then progressively kind of create a chain reaction and actually help loosen up a lot of the body on the outer, the lateral portions of the body. So once again, awareness at the center of the head. This time we're going to inhale, move our awareness towards our temples, kind of, or right around the side of the head, or this is the temporal lobe. So inhale to the sides of the head, exhale at the sides of the head. You can do both sides simultaneously, or one side then the other side, however you choose to do this. And then once again you'll inhale back towards the center of the head, exhaling at the center of the head. Let's go ahead and scrub the lateral pathways. Some of you, while you're doing the lateral sides, you might notice your body wants to rock. This is kind of the Kundalini in some ways waking up. There's a lot of different reasons that rocking might happen. If you don't perceive that, that's fine. And let's go ahead and inhale once again, returning to the center of the head. Exhale at the center of the head. All right, so we're going to relax our awareness at the center of the head. In essence, what we have at the center of the head, to me, it looks like a star or like a little sunshine. And from this point, I can see light radiating out inside of my head to these various points that we just opened those pathways. So when you're doing sexual transmutation practices now, these pathways will be cultivated. That is, if you do this on a regular basis. And part of when the orgasmic energy will rise up, now it'll have, in some ways, a direction to go. Again, that's a big part of transmutation practices is releasing the tensions and the things that block the flow of the energy. So with the awareness at the center of the head, like I said, go ahead and meditate, feel and sense that space for as long as you wish. You can go ahead and pause the video. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and progress you back down into your navel. So from here, I'm going to have you place the tongue at the roof of the mouth very gently. We're going to do this in 3 segments. I'm going to have you inhale the first segment. So inhale a little bit of air, bringing the awareness down to the upper part of the chest. If you can, lift your perineum gently, feeling and sensing the chest space. Once again, tongues at the roof of the mouth, awareness at the heart space, perineum gently lifted. Now I'm going to have you inhale another third of air, pulling the awareness down to just below the sternum but above the navel, so kind of solar plexus area. Once again, contract the perineum to help consolidate your focus, your centering. Then finally, inhale fully, pulling the awareness all the way back down to below the navel. Lift the perineum gently, feeling and sensing the space below the navel. You could feel a pulse or something along those lines. And then go ahead and exhale your awareness inside the navel space. Again, the navel space is directly above the perineum, about 2 fingers below the navel, inside the belly. You can go ahead and meditate on that part of the body. And with all that said, thank you for watching the video. Hopefully you've enjoyed this practice.